I'm Jed Burgers, and this is my date of birth speech. Most people probably look at September 18th as a day with no utter importance. Well, to me, September 18th marks the day I was brought into this world and a day full of significant events. I have come to realize that without this day, the history we know would be quite different. The 18th of September marks an important day in media, warfare, and presidential aspects. I hope that through this speech, you can find the importance of not only my birthday, but of yours as well. First, we'll look at the presidential side of September 18th. In 1973, George Washington lays the first cornerstone of the Capitol building, which is home to the legislative branch of government. This marks the first day of a century-long build. It took nearly a century to complete because the architects came and went. It was also called to use during the Civil War, and the British would later end up setting fire to the building. Eventually, the Capitol building would be completed with its famous cast iron dome and collection of American art. Today, the Capitol building is part of the Capitol complex, which is home to 6 congressional office buildings and 3 Library of Congress buildings. All of these developed in the 19th and 20th centuries. Next, we'll talk about the more violent side of September 18th. In 1964, some South Vietnamese officials exclaimed that 2 companies from the North Vietnamese Army have started an invasion in South Vietnam. This would result in a battle in which North Vietnamese forces would be defeated, with heavy casualties. People in southern Vietnam questioned whether those were North Vietnamese troops, since they were never seen in the South before. But indeed, they were. This infiltration marked a major change in the tempo of the war and resulted in United States President Lyndon B. Johnson committing U.S. combat troops to Vietnam. Now let's move back in time to the Civil War. In 1862, Robert E. Lee and the Confederates and General George McClellan and the Union were at a standstill. Both armies remained in their positions without fighting. General Lee and the Confederates were highly vulnerable. With their backs facing the Potomac River, they had nowhere to flee. Not to mention, Lee lost a quarter of his troops the previous day. McClellan, on the other hand, outnumbered Lee's troops by almost 3 times, yet he still didn't pursue Lee. In McClellan's defense, his troops were fatigued from the Battle of Antietam the day before. So instead of pursuing Lee, he allowed them to escape with his forces intact. As a result, the war lasted another 2.5 years. Lastly, we'll look at an important media aspect of September 18th. In 1851, the first issue of the New York Daily Times was published. The founders were Henry Jarvis Raymond and George Jones. Their goal in publishing this now famous and widely used magazine was to issue it every morning except Sundays and for a number of years to come. Their goal was met. Before this speech, I would wake up on my birthday and tally on another year of life. But now I'll wake up and realize the historical importance of this day. Without this day, things would have been much different. The construction of the Capitol building could have been delayed. The pace of the Vietnam War would have been a lot different, and the New York Times may have never been published. September 18th is more than just my birthday. It's a historical milestone.